And I'm going to simply drag out my buttons. I'll go ahead and drag out my main button. I'll come along and drag out portfolio button. And finally, my resume button. And at this point, we're ready to begin coding or adding our action script to the 3 buttons. At which point, let me go ahead and close my library. I've got my selection tool. I'm going to go ahead and highlight my main, and I'm going to go ahead and it may kind of seem not obvious here, but what I'm going to do is write some source code for main, because what's going to happen is I'm going to be taking all 3 of these buttons and copying them all onto the 3 scenes. So I really don't need an action script for main since I'm on my main scene. But again, since I'm going to be copying this to the various scenes, I want to make sure that this is in effect got an action script on it. So I've got my main button selected. I'm going to come up here to Window. I'm going to go to Actions. And tell you what, maybe get this back to where it was here initially. I would press on Global Functions. I'll choose Movie Clip Control. Then I'm going to go ahead and double click on the word On. And I'll double click on the word Release. I'll then position my cursor to the right of that little curly bracket and I'll hit Enter. I'm now going to come to my Timeline control. And I'm going to double click on Go To and Stop. Then within double quotes, I'm going to type the word Main, comma, go to frame 1. Okay, and that button is finished. And I'll now come along and I'll press on Portfolio, open up my action window, and the same thing here. Double click on, double click on Release, position my cursor after the curly bracket, double click on Go To and Stop, and this is going to be Portfolio, in double quotes, and frame 1. Close that. One more button. Highlight my resume. Open up my Actions window. Double click on, double click on Release. Double click on Go To and Stop. And this will be my resume in double quotes, comma, frame 1. Okay, at this point I've got pretty well the source code finished for my main scene. I'll tell you what, let me just go ahead and show you what we're now at. If I come to Control, Test Movie, I've got those navigation buttons on my first scene, and they should actually work here. So if I press on Portfolio, it should take me to Portfolio, but notice I now don't have any buttons over here. So I'm going to go ahead and take those buttons that I created on my main scene and paste those on my other 2 scenes here. So I'm going to go ahead and hold the Shift key down, highlight all 3 buttons, at which point I'm going to come up here to Edit. I'm going to choose Timeline, and I'm going to go ahead and copy frames. I'm now going to advance to my next scene. I'll call it my next one, Portfolio. That's my background. Let me put these buttons on their own layer, so I'll go ahead and press on the Insert layer. I'll double click and I'll give this the name Buttons. If you wanted to, you could call this your background and possibly lock that. I'm on my Buttons layer. I'm on frame 1 of my buttons, and I'll come up here to Edit, Timeline, and I'll go Paste Frames. And I'll go ahead and deselect those. And I'll repeat this one more time. I'll come here to Resume, press on my Insert Layer icon, create a new layer called Buttons, come up here to Edit, Timeline. Whoops. Make sure you got frame 1. Notice how Paste Frames is not available here. Make sure you're on the right frame, you're on the right layer. Buttons, frame 1 is active. I'll come up here to Edit, Timeline, and now I can see Paste Frames is available there, and I'll paste those frames and deselect that. Okay, we're ready to test this one more time. I'll come up here to Control, Test Movie, and it should now go from one scene to the next. If I press on Portfolio, sure enough it went there, and Resume or back to Main. The next thing I'm going to do, or the last thing here, is add some feedback. So when I'm on the main, I'm going to have this appear in blue. And to do that, I'll go ahead and close my movie, and I'll come back to my main scene. And I'll just press over here, so deselect all of those. Now what I'm going to do is highlight just my main button. I'll open up my property window, And to do that, I could come here to Window, and I could go to Properties, Properties, or Control F3 there. Okay, so right now, main is a button. What I'm going to do is convert this to a graphic, because I don't even want someone to actually click on that. I just want some text right there. So I'm going to convert that to a graphic. A little dialog box will pop up giving you a warning message. Converting this deletes the action script. Do you want to continue? Yes. I actually want to delete the action script there. And now what I'm going to do is go ahead and change the tint. And I already have this set blue, so that went ahead and changed the tint on this now graphic to blue. Okay, I just need to repeat this 2 more times. I'll come over here and choose my portfolio, highlight my command button here, or navigation button for portfolio. I'll come down and change that from a button to a graphic. That will delete the action script when I press OK. And I'll go ahead and change the color, add a little blue tint to it. And one last time, resume, highlight resume, change that from a button to a graphic, press OK, and come over here and choose tint. And at this point, I'll go ahead and close my property window, and I'll come up here and test this movie one last time, hopefully. Okay, I can see I'm getting my little feedback. I'm in my main scene. I've got my 2 rollover buttons, so I press on portfolio, it takes me there, and it displays it in blue. I still got my rollovers for main and resume, and if I press on resume, it takes me there, and again, displays that in blue. Well, hopefully you learned a little bit in this video about how to create multiple scenes and target them using action scripts. I'll catch you later. Bye.